Hey guys, before you start the video, I just wanted to let you know that the video that I posted was more or less a test video that I made. I made other test videos or tried to make an official video, but this one just came out the most natural of my personality, and this is the one that I want to post. But the other thing I want to mention is please like, subscribe, and also I want to create a platform to begin interviewing interesting people. I have my email link below. Please reach out if you want to start doing some interviews, and we can just talk about anything related to life. Right now, it's about traveling. So if you're a traveler, please reach out so we can schedule something. I'd love to hear about your travels and what you're doing. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mark. I'm from San Jose, California, and I've traveled am in the process of traveling 20 countries in under a $30,000 budget in about a year. So this is about a 12-month life project. Could have been accomplished a lot sooner, or I could have traveled to more countries, but I decided to stay in Thailand for 6 months because I was finishing my book that I wrote. It's called The Scrapper's Guide, a business book, The Scrapper's Guide, and it's a book on business management, but written in a story format where you have characters and a setting. Um, and the main character is this young college person trying to figure out like what it means to be good at business and meets his mentor Vince, and the lessons are done within Vince's food manufacturing facility, and each chapter is a reflection of each part of business. So that was completed, and then the other goal was to basically have the fighter's life like 80% because I don't have the appetite for fighting, but to just have the training life, like training 5, 6 days a week in Thailand with Thais, doing traditional Muay Thai, doing conditioning, just no bullshit training, and just no bullshit martial arts. And I am in the process of completing that goal, um, which is why I am in Thailand for 6 months. I have about 2 months left, and then after that, I'm heading to Myanmar or Burma, and after Burma, it'll be Bhutan, and then after Bhutan, it will be Nepal, and then after that, it will either be Lebanon to see my family or to Germany to see my lady, because I'm currently in Germany where I met my lady during the trip, and that's a whole different story. So let's start with why I wanted to do this, or why it was important for me to do this. Number one, this was a life goal of mine, and I think the reason why it was a life goal of mine is because I have a very international mindset, starting from when I was a kid, because I was born in the U.S. but raised in Lebanon, and Lebanon is influenced. You get exposed to different cultures and countries while you're in Lebanon, so that was, I guess, an initial influence, but it wasn't until college where that influence or curiosity like just flourished, and I was very much interested in worldwide economics, worldwide business, finance, international finance, and just reading journals and reports on what's going on economically through different countries, whether it's Latin America, Europe, Southeast Asia, East Asia, Australia, New Zealand, North America. And so the initial influence was in college, just being exposed to so many international things. And then that turned into this life goal of wanting to travel and see the world. And I also think it had to do with, or connected to, my dad who passed away when I was 18. I'm 32 now, but um, he also left Lebanon at a very young age and traveled a lot, and traveling was just a big part of his life. And maybe that was kind of like an indirect influence as well. So number one, it was just a life goal, and it's a life goal that I've had since I think I was about 23. That I just really desired this thing. Didn't know how to. I mean, I think I knew how to get there, but like it took me 7 years to get there, Um, what were other reasons? Number two, I wanted to do something wild and not wild and crazy, but like I wanted to go see the world before settling in life, like having a family and kids, or not just settling and have getting married or just being with someone and having kids, but also like doing this while I'm still young, and I would still advocate for people older to still travel 100%. But I really think the younger the better if you can accomplish this because you just have less things going on, like less responsibilities. I don't want to say less responsibilities, but like you just there's a more of a sense of freedom that you have when you're younger that for some reason, whether it's through working and being trapped in this machine of work, or parents getting older, or the social pressure around you when you get older. Um, like in your 30s, everyone's getting married and having kids, and everyone's wondering what the fuck's wrong with you. Um, like, why aren't you married and why don't you have kids and why aren't you following this certain path in life? Then that's kind of why I say the younger the better. And also physically, like traveling is a very physically demanding activity, even though people think it's like I'm going on vacation, but this kind of traveling isn't vacation to go sit on a beach. It's like you're constantly on the go, and there's a lot of logistics you have to take care of, and there's also a lot of information you're sucking in um, while traveling and seeing new things and experiencing new things and like figuring out and being and your body adjusting to the new vibes or atmosphere within each country and city, and going hostel hopping and traveling through plane and traveling through motorcycle and traveling through buses, and walking a shit ton. Like it's a very physically demanding activity, and the younger the better because just easier to recover, and you're just able to do these physically demanding things. Like if you've ever traveled with your older mom or dad that are in their 60s or 70s, and they can just barely do two, three, like 5 miles, and then they're just done. Yeah, that's not why or what you should be doing when you're traveling. Like you're going to be walking 10 miles, 15 miles, hopping on different trains and buses and bikes and wanting to drink and party and do all these things. These are things you should be doing when you're younger, and socializing and all these things. Um, so I wanted, number two, I wanted to do this before I settled. And also, it is the right time to just do it. Number three, I wanted to see the world because of this itch that I had to just go and explore and see things. Not through a luxury mindset of like being in a hotel because I was hostel hopping a lot. And currently, and I'll be doing a video about this, but I'm living in a tiny ass condo in Thailand that I found through Facebook Marketplace. Um, and I'm living around Thais. No one speaks English. Um, I have zero conveniences. Like I have a fan. I don't have an AC. I don't have a kitchen, but I have a rice cooker, and I just make rice, beans, and boiled eggs that I eat every fucking day, um, while training. And I have a tiny fridge for just keeping things cold and storing like my 5 kilo bag of rice and beans. And I don't really drink alcohol unless my lady's with me. But number three, I wanted to see the world. Like I wanted to see what Latin America was like. I wanted to see what Southeast Asia was like. And when we dig deeper into how I planned it, a lot of this was based off intuition, or what was of interest to me, because Europe itself was not of interest to me. I don't know why. Maybe Eastern Europe, that was a thing, but like Germany, the UK, like the typical Western travel destinations within Europe, I just really wasn't interested. I don't know why. So, number four, long story short, my dad passed away when I was 18. I don't want to get into a sob story, but he was diagnosed with cancer when I was 16, and he had like stage 4 prostate cancer, and died when I was 18. And so I never really got to know him personally, like as a man or as a person. I only knew him as the dad from up to I was 18, which at that point you don't really connect with your dad as a person because the dynamic is just father and son, and in this case like Arab father and son, which is just yelling and beating the shit out of you and disapproving constantly, and just telling you like what you need to do in life to go make money and be safe. So it wasn't really like man to man kind of relationship or like friend to friend relationship, and so I never really got to know my dad on a personal level and like what he did in life and how he did it and the experiences that he had. I only know the stories from either bits and pieces from friends or from my mom, and that's about it. Like and photos, like old photos that I can see, and I just have to connect the dots. And so, in a way, or from the stories that I've heard from my mom about my dad leaving Lebanon at a very young age, 16 or 20, and going to Africa and then taking a cruise ship and going to Brazil and meeting his first wife on a cruise ship who was from California, and then being in Brazil with his dad because his dad left Lebanon, my grandpa, and like living a life of just risk and travel and seeing things. Um, I think this was in a way to connect with him subconsciously, I'm guessing. And so this wasn't a direct reason why I did this, but I think it was just an influence somewhere out there to connect with him and to kind of experience like what he experienced as someone just going through the world as a person and as my dad. And so I think that was one of the reasons why I did this as well. Number five, I'm tired of being in the United States. And this one's a little difficult to explain um, because this isn't really about being political. However, I'm very aware of what's going on politically because politics and economics are very much connected. Like political policies affect economic change, and that's something we're constantly seeing in the U.S. domestically and internationally. Whether it's these trade wars and tariffs and trying to push companies to be local, or just the constant corporatization of what's going on in the US, and more tax breaks for the rich, more difficult for the middle class to just um, make a living. Poor people keep getting fucked. The homeless situation, the opioid situation, the drug situation, um, and the idea that socialism is communism in the US is just fucking insane. Where the idea that you should spread equality more is looked down upon in the US because in the US we believe in like the American dream, which has died over 40 years ago, but we still like to believe it. Um, like I lived in the Bay Area, like San Jose, San Francisco, and to buy just a shitty home is about $1 million, and there's just no way to afford that unless you live a very specific life, which is through tech. And then even that itself has its own obstacles with foreigners. I mean, not against immigrants or foreigners, but like foreigners coming in specifically for tech that have been groomed their entire life to be in this industry to take advantage of the economic opportunities, um, and just having a constantly this pressure cooker of like you just can't move forward in life unless you've inherited a lot of money or got extremely lucky or just in some way like traded your entire youth for this American dream thing, and what you've accomplished is having a mortgage on a house, a family, and kids. And you, as a, I'm just saying this as a man because that's who I am. Um, but even as a woman, like, you look back and you go, you pat yourself on the back that you worked hard as fuck to then pay off mortgage bills on a house that's extremely expensive, hoping that it will increase it over time, to then sell it and then retire when you're 65. And you may not know this, but retiring in the US is expensive as fuck too. Like, health insurance is a joke. The medical system is a joke. Getting caretakers is expensive as fuck. You're looking at $2,000 to $4,000 a month for a caretaker. If you're getting old and you're not healthy, like, you need transportation. Your life revolves around like health, the health industry, and that is not cheap. And I know this because I used to be a medical transporter transporting elderly, and it's just constant problems of diabetes, or broken hips or broken legs, or especially older men like that don't take care of themselves. They're just fucking broken. And so you've worked your entire life to then spend your entire retirement on expensive, this inefficient, expensive healthcare system in the US that's not getting better. Um, and so I'm going on this rant to basically say that, in the US, it just, especially in my city in the Bay Area, it's, you're just in this constant rat race that's going nowhere. And also culturally, I got tired culturally of the US and its whole, especially in my city because it's Silicon Valley, like this constant push for technology, and just the lack of simplicity in life, which I have seen so much while traveling, and that we've overcomplicated life in the US when it comes to relationships, when it comes to economics, when it comes to like loving each other. We have overcomplicated it, and we're just confused about what to do as people in the US. And I just didn't want to be around that anymore. And so I wanted to travel to figure out where else I can live life and be happy and live in a place that's balanced and also is aligned with my values as a person, which generally is a more socialistic country, one that gives a fuck about public transportation, public health, public education. And yes, I'm fine with being taxed more if that means systematically I am taken care of, and that I don't have to worry about getting a vehicle. I don't have to worry about getting charged 50, $100,000 for a broken finger or a broken hand that will put me in debt. I don't have to worry about my children, saving 30,000, 50,000 for each child to go to university so that they can maybe have a chance to get ahead, and then they're dealing with the rat race. Like, I wanted something different. And so that was one of the driving forces for me to leave, because I wanted to see what else is out there. And yes, there are much better places than the US in many different ways, or at least in public infrastructure ways. All right, let's talk about how I planned this trip. Like, how do you plan a 20 country, around the world trip in only, or in a budget of $30,000? So, number one, in my head, when I was 23, I did just very surface level research. But the budget I came down to was $50,000 that I need to save to do this trip. And that was me being conservative with like always taking taxis or renting a vehicle, always being in pricey hotels, always eating expensive food, um, and assuming the more expensive flight tickets. And so the number was 50,000, and that technically is still was still my budget when I traveled. However, what I did was create a very conservative budget, which was the 50,000, and then I optimized that budget, which we're going to go through an operational process, which I created when working at a startup called Linear Pathway, which is that it's not something I created, I'm sure it existed, but where you basically chronologically or chronologically list and create what you're going to do every day and actually follow it, and then figuring out the costs for each of those activities and create some buffer for that uh, dollar amount, so that even though it's as realistic as possible, it's still conservative to about a 10-20% conservation. And we'll go over it on Google Sheets so I can explain and visualize what I mean. And so that's kind of how I planned it in general. And then the specifics of it was that, and how I picked these countries is I literally went on Google Maps or Google Earth, and I just started scrolling through the globe. And I was just going through each country and going, all right, if I go to Mexico, like, what is it that I'm interested in? What pulls me towards wanting to go there? What is it that I want to accomplish when I'm there? Or if I want to go to Peru or Colombia or Venezuela or Nicaragua or Costa Rica, Argentina or Uruguay, or Thailand, Cambodia, whatever. Each one, I had to have something pull me towards it to figure out what this goal was. And then I would get into more specifics later, but I would write down the initial like interest of what is it that interested me about wanting to go to this specific country. And so then once I had a general idea of like the countries I wanted to go in, because initially it wasn't 20, I think it was like 30 or 40, and then it got cut down to 20 once I dug into the activities and researching like what I wanted to do. Um, then it was one step deeper, which is to figure out where to go in the country. And for me, I like cities. I'm a nature person when I'm with other people, but for myself, I just love cities. I'm an extrovert. I love being around people. I love talking to random strangers and connecting with them, or going out and getting shit faced with strangers and having a good time, assuming having a good time. In general, I cared about going to major cities and seeing like being at the center of culture, of food, of transportation, because logistics is a huge thing, and just being in a place where I can meet as many people as possible, see as much as possible, and just optimize my time and energy and money. And that those are cities. But it depends on the country. So like in Costa Rica, for example, I never really cared about seeing the city. I cared for whatever reason. I cared about doing volunteer work because it just that's how it hit me. And so I lived on a property for an animal rescue center where I barely had electricity, barely had water, um, ate the food of whatever they cooked, which was just it could be rice and beans or curry or whatever the fuck. Um, and I was working with animals 8 hours a day, doing kitchen work, cleaning their cages, taking care of them, going to the veterinary that was on site, and it was a nature reserve. That's what I wanted to do there, and I didn't really go see the city because I just didn't care to, and that's something you have to be okay with when planning your a major trip, is knowing what you don't want to do and being okay with it, being okay with the sacrifices of not doing things that you're okay not doing, and not having this FOMO bullshit feeling. Like, just be honest with yourself. And so, or like in Peru, I was in Cusco, but well, I was in Lima and then Cusco, and then Cusco is very spread out in terms of what to see, because there is a lot of nature and you're at very high altitudes, which fucked me up. And that required different kinds of planning than being in Mexico City and seeing things just within the city. And then, like, um, I went to go see Teotihuacan, and and that was one thing I did that was outside the city that I was okay with, like financing and paying $50 or whatever or $100 in total for the Uber ride. And so you want to go into the specifics of the city, and then once you figure out this the city you're interested in, and sometimes it's back and forth. Like you'll find a city you're interested in, and then you look into it, like what is there to do, and then you're like, I'm not interested in general, not interested in the city, and then you find something else. So there's not like this linear pathway um, to figure out like where you want to go, but you just have to keep researching and finding it out. So that was the other thing. Once I figured out the city I was interested in, then it was researching activities. And then again, that was also intuition. Like, okay, in Tokyo, what do I want to go see? I want to go see feudal shit. I want to go see like Cat Street. I want to go see the Eiffel Tower, and I want to go see this other thing. I was also interested to go see like the Toyota factory, which is not in Tokyo, but that was part of the plan because I wanted to go see how vehicles are made, and I'm interested in Japanese engineering. And so once you create the list of activities, you just put them down, whatever you're interested in, and from there, once you've compiled the country, the city, and the activities, this is when you can kind of like start dialing down and understanding like the budget and what goes into it. And the budget is generally broken down between so flights, transportation, hotel or hostel, how many nights you estimate to be there, and that will be done through activities. Transportation, I already said that. Activities, that needs to be budgeted. Your visa fee and food and drinks, and that's pretty much it. But everything will be figured out once you understand your activity list because everything will follow the activity list. So, um, and we'll go into how to measure that. So, like, for example, in Tokyo, if you have a list of these 10 activities and they're spread across the city, then you make your best guess on what you can accomplish within a day, and that will be one night. So, if you want to do these three activities that are at the north of the city of Tokyo, um, then you'll plan one day just for that, and then you research into each of those activities in terms of how much it costs, or you make a best guess, and then you also budget your food and drink for that day as well as transportation, and that will give you the cost for the day. And you can work your way through each activity like that to create a more optimal or realistic budget of what things will cost, plus a 10 to 20% buffer of just expenses that you just don't know will happen, and that happens maybe 10-20% of the time. If you've really done your research, then like for me, I haven't had anything that was pretty much that was a surprise, except when my phone got stolen, and that was $1,000 like purchase to get another iPhone and deal with that bullshit. So let's talk about the next topic, which is how I saved the money. So I was 23 when I had this idea. I don't remember how much money I had saved at the time because I was also working and saving. Um, but let's say I had only $10,000 and I traveled when I was 31. So 31 minus 23, that was 8 years of saving roughly. And so if your budget's 50,000, then you need to be saving $6,250 a year, which is completely doable to do something that's life changing. But technically, I wasn't. I was saving a lot more. I think I was saving about 20 to 30,000 a year, and then I can discuss in another video about like my career and how I was able to negotiate a higher salary, et cetera, et cetera. But long story short, I had this opportunity when I was 26 to work in a very high position at a startup, and I got paid $100 to $110,000 over the course of I think 2 or 3 years, and that's where the majority of my savings happened. Where I think I saved about like 30 or 40,000 a year of money, and I think I would have to create another video to discuss like finances and how to like strategize around finances, especially in the U.S. and the sacrifices needed if you're trying to accomplish a goal like this. The saving money part was very straightforward because I had a goal, I had a budget, and everything else just made sense. Like, all right, everything I need to do needs to be aligned with this goal. So don't buy drinks at bars. If you go to bars, just if you're fine with drinking water, then drink water or just get one drink. Um, if you like music, find free music events, or again, go into lounges, bars, or clubs. You don't have to buy shit. You don't owe them anything. Um, Unless you're in Asia, that's different because they require you to buy something to be there. The saving money part is really not that difficult. You just need to figure out what your budget is and then just align your life with this goal. And it's as simple as that, even though it sucks because your life would be boring. Again, depending on your what your finances are. And then the last thing is doing it, pulling the trigger, and just fucking doing it, um, and just going with it, and being okay with the fluidity of travel, being okay with the consequences of travel. Not to be dramatic, but like the consequences of possibly dying, the consequences of possibly getting kidnapped, the consequences of whatever. And that's something you have to be okay with and just not give a fuck about and just do it. Um, I've traveled through Latin America and through Asia, and not once did I ever feel unsafe, especially in Mexico, like Mexico City. No, like whatever the media shows is just not true of many countries. I've been to Cambodia. I'm going to be in Myanmar soon, and that's been in a civil war for many years, so who knows what the fuck will happen. I was in Vietnam, which is a communist country, but it was amazing. Through Latin America, like clearly I didn't go to Honduras or El Salvador. I was in Colombia, I was in Peru, I was in Argentina, I was in Panama, I was in Costa Rica, I was in Nicaragua. Nicaragua was like, had a bunch of military checkpoints, a lot of poverty there. Like no one fucked around, and no one was just trying to rob you or saw you as a target or anything as like that. Just behave normal, act normal, communicate with the local people. Everything will be fine. And so yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll be signing out. Peace.